Here we go. Hanamura will be the assault. I hold shift with Geo on the call for you. Young and beautiful on the defense to start things off. And there will be another pharmacy combo with an Ashe, interestingly enough, offensively. And so far, the damage is looking good and well appreciated as there is. Again, you mentioned it. The different compositions for CIS Hope. They're coming out with a solo wrecking ball, a Sombra as well. And they are looking some success right down the face of this capture point, Geo. And at the moment, it looks like it will just be, again, CIS Hope finding a couple of early eliminations on the back end of a very aggressive setup we don't often see when it comes down to the attack on Hanamura. But again, maybe catching Young and Beautiful by surprise at the moment. And it will, in fact, be CIS Hope breaking on in, finding themselves the first 2 ticks. And as we get closer to the 2:30-minute mark on the timer, it will be a full push all the way through. 6:27 on the clock for CIS Hope. Sherrick not even going to change, interestingly enough, as we will be moving on through with the same composition. A lot of ultimates to use, so you figure they're going to get this one go. A lot of mobility on the table for CIS Hope, and now sitting with, again, just about 6 minutes and 12 seconds on that clock. Moving on forward, Bob will come out. EMP also coming through. It just comes down to from where will the rest of the sustain for Young and Beautiful come from. CIS Hope, oh my goodness, this is definitely a cheeky strategy, and they found themselves 2 ticks of progress. Bob will fly away, but it's not before a lot of progress has been made for CIS Hope, and the kills are continuing to still rain down. The barrage will be able to be enough damage to help shoot through Coffee on this Zarya. It just comes down to, can they clean up the rest? Oh, what a headshot from Kenzie. Looking solid. There's 2 in a row. Looking, make it 3, my man. And one last tick needed, just a little bit more progress. And oh my goodness, CIS Hope, wherever did that come from? They find themselves a very quick round 1. Holy smokes. And we got to get Geo back in on this one, and we do have a little bit of a sync problem. So we're going to just throw these to a quick break, get reset to be back with you guys over these foot sides. Geo, I'm sorry we lost you. You're definitely the most acute personality. More geometric jokes. I got to get your reactions, though. I mean, I missed you on that last call. That was an absolutely insane progression from CIS Hope.
I mean, I can see the time bank on the screen, and I'm thinking, is this the CIS Hope that we saw in the first half of this series? And I really hope, CIS Hope, hey, I hope you enjoy that, because I really hate puns.
Love you for saying that. You have no idea.
Well, I'm good. At least it pleased someone because it's made me hate myself. But I really hope that we do see more of a fight coming out of them and something that they can actually get value out of. And it looks like, once again, they're going to be playing one of these more creative compositions. I mean, in the last few patches, we saw a sort of meta in and of itself for this first point come out for Hanamura. And it seems like teams are trying to figure out what it is that works for them. So I like seeing these new things. And I love seeing Kenzie on Widowmaker as well because he's so good.
Indeed he is, and after that Ashe gameplay, more hit scan, please. You can sign me up on the every day of the week when it comes to that one more headshot just before he retreats back towards the high ground. And goodness gracious, CIS Hope. Okay, you've got my full attention right now. Unfixed, even playing on the Pharah again defensively. So much damage coming in. Young and Beautiful, how are you going to deal with this? Yes, they do have Huni playing on the Moira and immediately diving to the high ground, but again, it's just Kenzie, just doing Kenzie things, hitting headshots, and now Unfit, he's got nothing but free reign to move on in, field all the free damage in the world, and this will surely be a stalwart defense for CIS Hope.
Well, that was the thing with the dive that Young and Beautiful attempted to do there, is not all of CIS Hope were in the same place. So making that coordinated dive onto an Orisa shield where she can easily use her Fortify, and you've got this Torbjorn turret, and then you've got a damage boosted Pharah also above you. That's going to make that dive really, really hard to do. And especially when someone like Huni, he on the Moira doesn't have that vertical mobility. So he's sort of a little bit stuck, and it made Young and Beautiful's attempt... Ouch! It made Young and Beautiful's attempt a little bit fruitless, but it looks like they're actually going to be sticking with the composition that they attempted last time.
Just call Kenzie Hannibal Lecter, because he's peeling faces off right now. My goodness gracious. Yes, I went there, Gio. Deal with it. It's happening live on the air, but oh my goodness.
Bye, Huni.
Again.
Bye,
No
Huni.
way. Huni, thanks for playing, my friend. Go enjoy that respawn. And Unfixed now has a lot of targets in front of him as they're rotating around. And again, Young and Beautiful can just go absolutely nowhere from in here. The Infrasight comes out in perfect timing. Huni still doesn't have a Coalescence, Gio. No one can deal with the damage coming through. Kenzie again, put that away. There are ladies present.
Let's not bring gender into this, but using that Infrasight meant that the Pharah, meant that Unfixed had such a clear idea of where he was shooting through those little rooms, because you can't necessarily see them without that. And Kenzie, I don't know, just Kenzie, I think that's just the cast. You can see Young and Beautiful, they're trying to make this rotation around the other side to avoid his awful gaze.
Oh my goodness gracious. Somebody bring me some ice chips. It's getting hot in here. Unfixed, Barrage ready to go. And the shield from the Winston already melted. Huni, again, just dealing. He's finally gets the Coalescence, but has to go immediately into his Wraith Walk through. So now just comes to Unfixed. Can you come around the backside? He sure wants to. The Barrage lined up right on top of Huni's face. He is having himself not
He's having a horrible day.
Coffee, though, not over yet. Young and Beautiful still here with numbers as Coffee is able to find the Torbjorn turret plus one more, and that's the Orisa. So all of a sudden, Young and Beautiful says, okay, enough nonsense. We'll finally take this point. A minute on the clock left on that, so they will have a chance to hit point B with plenty of time in the bank.
Yeah, they got just under 5 minutes to do this, but they don't want to see a similar thing happen where they just keep trying to make pushes and find that Kenzie's digging yet another grave in his back garden for their body, you know? But CIS Hope, they're not actually going to have Kenzie on the Widowmaker anymore. They have switched it up to be on that GOATS composition, which we've already seen Young and Beautiful have a lot of efficacy against, so they're just going to rush straight through main.
Yeah, it's saying, okay, no more nonsense. Exactly what this is for me from Young and Beautiful. Let's just go ahead and put this one back. Let's get ourselves to the second round of points. A nice surf destruction will come through, but not finding any kills. And with that punch to Sherrick, there will be no Reinhardt for CIS Hope. A lot of numbers here for Young and Beautiful. And now with the Winston and the Primal Rage, Krondop says, just stay on the wall. Don't even come to point. I don't want to see you anywhere near my team. But it's not going to be without some resiliency as CIS Hope coming back in. Kenzie has switched over to the Zarya and is near full charge, looking for potentially a Graviton Surgeon. Off the respawn, CIS Hope able to hold and actually push back Young and Beautiful. Only 1 tick of progress match there for Young and Beautiful.
I have to laugh at that Primal Rage, because usually with a Primal Rage you think, okay, they could jump about the map, they have a lot of mobility, but no, it's just about harassing Unfixed in a corner because he didn't have his shield bash. But nonetheless, CIS Hope were able to defend that point, and Unfixed will have that rally ready for the next fight, so every member of his team should be getting some armor. Kenzie's got his Graviton, but so far in this series, we haven't seen all that much value come out of Kenzie's Graviton, so I really want to see him being a bit smarter about it and preparing to use it and actually getting some people in the grav, you know?
You would love to see it. I mean, that's exactly what we want. CIS Hope will jump from high ground to high ground, just dancing on these ledges, and that's a really good push for CIS Hope, able to take down the entire front line. There will be staggered kills coming to the end. A nice even little pin there from Sherrick just to make sure the Diva doesn't get away. And it looks like they will allow the pilot Diva to tell the tale of that massacre. And we will set things back up. 3 minutes of time left still for Young and Beautiful.
It's an oof from me, and it does mean that Young and Beautiful, if they do take this point, they're still going to have a time bank much lower than that CIS Hope does have. So I think CIS Hope may be building up a little bit of confidence now, knowing that they've kind of figured out what it is that Young and Beautiful are doing that is having so much value, and Kenzie just seems to be a little bit more together. The team is a lot closer. Maybe it's because of the map geometry of this, where often you kind of wait up here for a team and you're all together. You're not all separated out across the map, and it means they can all provide that support for one another. But whatever it is, it's working.
Sure is so far, but there's a lot still riding on this defense. You still have to have that ultimate efficiency because otherwise all of that Pog champ that was coming out of Kenzie's barrel from the Widowmaker will just be completely negated by a 2-2 on the scoreboard. CIS Hope, you have an opportunity at hand, and we've seen them have these opportunities before and not fully capitalize. Will they able to do something here? They've already given up the high ground. So for Young and Beautiful, can you find Coffee this next Graviton surge? Well, of course you will. He's going to get it in 3%, and he farms it so quickly. It just comes down to waiting for him to pull the trigger. Will we see Chow flackering on that defense matrix, or will we see him actually holding true and maybe finding an E? Coming on in, now Young and Beautiful want to commit Sherrick, very low. Transcendence has to come out so early, and that's a free Graviton surge for Coffee. Self-destruct sequence right on top, but the sound barrier is good from CIS Hope. The Earth Shatter in response will find 3, and that will be enough to take down the Reinhardt. Young and Beautiful, just so calm, so collected, so much patience, and it will pay off this time around as they have the numbers. Self-destruct will give them some time for the respawn, but that will do nothing but push people away, and Krondop actually able to keep those big Reinhardt feet on the upper ledge, so he's not even going to have to rotate all the way around to get back to the high ground. We still only have that 1.5 ticks, looking for the second. It will not be done yet because, again, Sherrick is here, but he will actually be falling off. So now a second pick. Coffee finds himself 2 and essentially a half, looking for another Graviton surge. Of course he has it. Why would he not? The third tick will surely come back through, and they will get it with a minute on the time bank. But again, you have to think CIS Hope with 5 minutes plus. Whoo, you got to make full value out of that come around the second round.
For sure, but they really did fall apart there on their defense. We saw Sharek at the bottom waiting to use his Earth Shatter, and you saw the way that Young and Beautiful were kind of stalling at the top. They didn't necessarily just want to jump down straight into it, so they planned it. They waited for Coffee to have his Graviton Surge ready. They jumped down, shield bashed Sharek so that he wouldn't be able to use that Earth Shatter. They could move in forward, and actually we saw both of CIS Hope's support ultimates be forced out there. They used the Transcendence to try and protect Sharek so that he didn't go down after being shield bashed, and then very shortly after that, Aang used his sound barrier to protect the entire team throughout the fight. And ultimately, when Coffee, he brought out the Graviton Surge and they came in as well with the self-destruct, it really caused CIS Hope to fall apart there. So that's a shame for them, but that was a really smart choice of play for Young and Beautiful, not rushing into it because their time was ticking down, not just throwing out ultimates because they had them, but very carefully calculating what it was they were going to do. So now CS Hope, they're having another chance here to do their defense, actually doing something pretty much I think exactly the same as what they were running on the last defense. But I guess, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, we didn't get even much of a chance to talk about Chow play the Torbjorn just simply because Kenzie was popping off. So, I mean, again, let's talk about your good old-fashioned total up strat. A lot of defensive ability here from CIS Hope. We don't traditionally see something like this, and maybe Young and the Beautiful are thinking the same thing as it's like, well, how do we deal with this? Especially with Huni being picked off left and right, unfixed up and early. We'll have the damage boost, and he's already finding a lot of damage. And Kenzie already at 35% to an Infer site already. But this is a nice rotation from Young and Beautiful. We didn't see this early on. They've definitely learned. They're growing. They're becoming more adaptive to it. And they've already put themselves in a pretty good spot to rotate around the backside at this point, forcing CS Hope to make a decision on where they want to go. But Kenzie again with the headshot at a Coffee. Oh, you talk about needing to deal with him and the Zarya. That's one way of handling him.
Well, that's a really important thing is, well, yeah, first of all, rip Coffee, but they are doing this rotation around the side because not only does it mean that they are not in the direct face of the rest of CIS Hope, and they don't need to worry about the fact that Huni lacks that vertical mobility, but one thing that we did see on the last round was when Chow used his Torbjorn ult, it went straight through that window and actually cut off Young and Beautiful from being able to access the point from the other side. But look, they got 3 seconds left and they're still not touching. Oh, maybe.
There's someone is able to sneak on in. Wrecking Ball will have to dive. Coalescence comes through, but you can see Unfixed is just sitting in the air for free. No one's even looking at him. Even Hooney's not even looking at him. The barrage comes out late, and he will find the kill and a second on the Coffee. Now it just comes down to, they've already given up to almost 2 ticks though, Gio. This is catastrophic for CIS Hope. You talk about wanting the full hold. They will eventually get there to come back in. The res will come out onto Sherrick. This will surely be the end of this as the Molten Core comes out. We don't see a lot of Torbjorn, but it pays off here. But it doesn't come out of a small cost though. They do find themselves almost nearly 2 ticks to Young and Beautiful.
Yeah, which means CS Hope are going to have to take those 2 ticks themselves in order to win this map. But given the time bank that they did the first round in, I'm going to put my hands up and say, I don't think it's impossible. Like, I think that they'll be able to do it. And Young and Beautiful have kind of got the pressure on them now. Like, do they end up going, okay, well, this worked for CS Hope. Like, we really like that Torb strap. We really like the fact they're using Widowmaker. Or do they stick to this 3-3 composition that they've been mostly playing on because they've managed to have the upper hand on that? You know, this is going to be a real big question for them. And we're going to find out in just a sec as they actually start picking their compositions. Looking like Huni may actually stay on that Moira, provide the extra healing boost. But, you know, if Kenzie does stay on the Widowmaker, he's going to be having nightmares tonight.
Yeah, the head-to-head matchup, I think just about everybody versus Kenzie. It's
I don't think it's
favored Kenzie
head-to-head.
so far.
I think it's head to sniper bullet.
Oh, nice. Well played. Well, indeed. Face, meet bullet, meet face.
I really thought you guys would get along, you know?
Yeah. Let me introduce you to my pal. But for Young and Beautiful, again, I mean, you talk about this map for CIS Hope. It has been an absolutely brilliant stroke for them, but again, it has not been in as much success as you would anticipate, considering they have a lot of time to play with, and that's the biggest thing. But as we see that time bait go down, I think you will start to see some of those things that, again, the feelings, the emotions will start to be a little bit more on the anxious side of things. That sense of urgency is where things start to crumble for CIS Hope, but they're going to come out with essentially the exact same composition they used in the first time on offense, and why not? It worked so well, Gio.
Yeah, and if Unfix, oh, well, maybe looking like he might be going back,
Okay.
and they're all going to change up this composition, actually. Oh, they're going to switch on to the goats. Yeah,
Yep,
it's looking
flat out
like they
goats.
are. Yeah, I was going to say Unfix can be able to build up that barrage with the poke damage, but obviously that isn't an option anymore, and it's looking like maybe they'll just speed boost through, or at least I'd like to see them speed boosting through and just trying to get to the point as quickly as possible.
Oh, but a really good sound wave there from Young Savage that pushed everybody apart, but Krondop does fall, and that's catastrophic. You don't have that Reinhardt there. Can you find the sustained coffee? You have to be big once again. All of it resting on your shoulders. He takes down one. He takes down two. Main able to find one with the Orbit Destruction, though. We'll charge up a burst, and we'll find a lot of it into Flippy's face. But again, Coffee's still here. A lot of supports are still here. On the respawn comes Krondop. He's getting closer and closer, hopping his way forward. Transcendence for CIS Hope early. You need to find eliminations here, though, if you're CIS Hope. They do get a really long distance spin from Sherrick. The Earth Shatter comes down as well. And CIS Hope, they needed to find themselves that second tick, but they still haven't found themselves the first. Hootie put themselves to coalescence, and they can keep the Reinhardt up. All of a sudden, Young and Beautiful with an opportunity. Sherrick is really low. He will fall. Young and Beautiful, they're going to be able to hold this first push. And you talk about CIS Hope, you had that chance. You had the ability to put this map away, and you're giving Young and Beautiful a chance to come back. Coffee was huge, and now all of a sudden you're looking at nearly 5 of 6 outputs for Young and Beautiful.
And this is the pressure that you were talking about before, is when CIS Hope feel that they have that on them, they start to panic. And I mean, Sherrick, he built his Earth Shadow really quickly, but he just used it and there was no follow-up. And this isn't the first time we've said this series. So you're right, Young and Beautiful, they've got 5 ultimates on the board, and we all know that the Coalescence is the fastest ultimate to be built up. So if Huni is doing all of that healing, then he should have that very...
You are going nowhere, says Krondop. Try speed boosting through me again. This is a full wipe if I've ever seen one for Young and Beautiful. They use both of the big ultimates out of Krondop and Coffee, but you already see Krondop is already near 50% once again. He's just absolutely having such an impact on the map as this Reinhardt. They will eventually send Shao off the map, but now we're at only 3 minutes in change, Gio. Again, that pressure, it is amounting.
Yeah, and look, this is something that I was really confused about there, is the CSO got taken down so quickly, but Chao decided to run forward onto the point instead of going back. I'm confused as to what he thought he was going to achieve by doing that. The entirety of Young and Beautiful were on the point. He's only got a feed over ult charge, and he's not exactly going to get any ticks. So CSO, stay together, please. Please.
Everything's being used. Coffee's dead. That's exactly what you want to see. But the Graviton Surge will come out for the side of CIS Hope. Looking to put this one away. The self-destruct is good. Sherrick as well. This will surely be it. Young Savage needs to have some kind of a miraculous wall glide of his life. Just a delay for as long as possible. He will be discorded, and surely he'll be taken down soon. He will absolutely do so. But again, they still need 2 ticks of progress. Now being slippery is the Diva, sitting on the high ground. Self-destruct is there. If you can find the remake, the respawns might just be able to come back in time. Again, the ticks are not coming through. There's very little progress. Finally, there's the first tick, but they still need a second. Able to take down Donnie, and now the Tracer gameplay. We talked about Coffee. His Zarya gameplay is good, but so is his Tracer. The Earth Shatter is big, but there's not numbers here for Young and Beautiful. Can they follow up? Wrecking Ball's in play for Flippy, just dancing around the point, just swinging from left to right. He will be focused out in CIS Hope. I think they've given themselves enough time to do this. It sure looks that way. It's another full team wipe, and in staggered fashion. The second tick will come through. CIS Hope not out of this one yet. We're going to a 4th map looking at a 2-1 stat line.
Yeah, you're right, and that is good for them, of course. maybe they could take a sigh of relief. The fact that they're still in this series. But one thing I have to comment on is the fact that they did that last push with so much conviction, and by that I mean they used everything, and that meant that they had to believe it was going to happen, which sure, I applaud the self-confidence, but what does that say going forward? Does that suggest that CIS hope that they can only expect to be winning a fight if they put everything in, and even then it's close? I don't know. I'd be interested to know what Panda thinks.
Yeah, Panda, I got to get your reactions on that opening start from CIS Hope on attack. That was something that we haven't seen in a long time.
Listen, I said it at the beginning of the game. I said it after Blizzard World 2. CIS Hope are comfortable on the DPS compositions, man. They will take advantage of that exact style, especially walking in. I mean, 5 minutes, 32 seconds. Let's not look past the fact. Everybody knows at home, ladies and gentlemen, you start the game with 4 minutes. If you go into extra innings with 5 minutes and 32 seconds, that is an emphatic statement. And CIS Hope putting that on the board. That is exactly what you want to see from a team wanting to get back into contenders and solidifying themselves as a top contending team, not only sticking to the Maygoats composition, but really flexing to this patch of 1.32 and taking advantage of the situations that are opening for themselves. They're starting to realize that they have to push Caffey to the next level. Caffey starting to showcase that on that last defense that we just saw, having to be more reactive with the bubbles, which is how the Earthshatter found no value out of Sherrick, which was very early. Keep in mind but it was how that entire stall started to happening, and where we started to see Yab really get bright shines of life and being able to maybe hold and push it to their score victory line a little bit further. But at the end of the day, you're going to walk back in. Xiao's going to find at least one with that self-destruct, even if it was for a remech and inside Caffey's Graviton Surge. And that's gonna be the end. It's such a long walk from Hanamura, point B spawn, and Caffey got his head blown off by a fantastic Zenyatta. I mean, overall, I think we have a very good series on our hands. The scoreline earlier, 2-0, does not do justice for how much these two teams are pushing each other.
I mean, like, I'll be real. I'm actually really glad that it has been kind of this competitive, because I was a bit concerned, maybe not concerned, but like perhaps expecting, especially after watching yesterday, that this was maybe going to be a little bit more one-sided, especially as CIS Hope, who were known as Windstrike at the time, like did so well last season. They actually made it into the Season 3 playoffs for Contenders EU. It just is because of the format changes of Contenders that they're even here in Trials today. So I was kind of worried, but it's really kind of refreshing to see a new roster be able to put up such a fight. And like Panda, you're right. I think that CIS Hope, and this is something I commented on, aren't necessarily playing to their strengths, especially when they go on these tank-heavy compositions. It's sort of like you've literally shown to us for an entire season that you won't play those compositions because you're better at something else. And now is the time where you can't like mess around. You have to prove that you are good enough to go into Contenders again. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck in Trials. You're going to go back down to Open Division. Like, this isn't the time to mess around.
Okay, well, Panda, quickly, we've got Rialto for Escort. CIS Hope, a little bit of a surge here, but again, we're going to something a little bit more eccentric when it comes to Young and Beautiful's comps to kind of favor them. Do you find some more cheekiness out of CIS Hope here, or do you need to try to just play better GOAT-style compositions against Young and Beautiful?
I find this map choice a little bit questionable for Young and Beautiful because CIS Hope are really good on snipers included, and they have to be careful with sight lines. It was the LOS in between the Corral composition and triple DPS that really caught them off guard on Hanamura. Going into Rialto, they need to be mindful of that if they can more or less, I guess, ignore the high ground of CIS Hope that they're going to end up taking, Young and Beautiful will definitely see bright signs on Rialto.
Indeed, indeed. Well, here we'll go to the Italian Riverside, I guess we'll call it. As we go into Rialto. Young and Beautiful looking to put this one away. CIS hoping for a map 5. Geo, again, goodness gracious, we just got ourselves quite a little bit of a surge there on the Hanamura. Hoping for something similar here, of course, as we will be seeing again.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. You wouldn't think it...
Go on.
I was like, you wouldn't normally think of the giant meme Overwatch is 2CP, Resident Sleeper, not that time around.
Well, CIS Hope are at the very least doing something that I kind of wanted them to do, and that is having Unfixed on the Pharah and Kenzie on the Ashe. We've already seen what these two players can do. There comes the Halt to pull Young and Beautiful out of their spawn and subject them to the mercy of these two DPS players. And I'm really excited to see how they do with this.
Kenzie on the Ashe, feeding the hot hand potentially with these, kind of quasi-sniper gameplay. Unfixed as well, still rocking the pharmacy combo. A lot of damage here so far, but the pressure for Young and Beautiful immediately underneath this hotel area. You can see, again, they just want to get on the high ground as fast as possible, make sure that this L turn is not contested. This is such a tight choke point, especially when there's a Pharah involved. Kenzie will find Huni again. He's got to hate hearing that if you're a Huni fan, as he continues to get peeled off the face of the planet by these direct DPSs. Unfixed now. Can he take the reins to find some damage, significant damage, onto the frontliners? And no jump at all for the Winston. Krondop will fall, and this should surely be CIS Hope pushing forward and finding a couple more eliminations.
Yeah, Unfix just cleaning them up there. And this is, I mentioned this in the last map, but running this Moira with the dive composition, when CIS Hope are running DPS heroes, Pharah in the sky, the Ashe, who can use the coach gun to get around, use the high grounds or the low grounds. Moira can't necessarily access those and provide the healing, even though she does have a high HPS output. She can't necessarily provide the healing that is required to actually deal with these heroes.
I just love the target prioritization from CIS Hope right now, just making sure the Winston, every time he comes in, gets focused down. The barrage comes out, the bubble not enough to keep him alive. They will finally take him down, but now the Bob is in place, so essentially still a 6-on-5, and the Rez gets off. This is absolutely brilliant for CIS Hope. Headshots still ringing through. Doesn't matter what kind of weapon you put in the hands of Kenzie, he'll continue to find the noggin, and that'll be enough with Bob on the field to secure another solid defense for CIS Hope.
And it's not even just about Kenzie. When you look at the kill feed, you see Main showing up on those assists, which, as you say, is the target prioritization. They're putting the Discord orb on a target, and both the DPS players are going for that target. And that's how they're managing to bring Young and Beautiful down so methodically. But so maybe Young and Beautiful kind of going around the side a little bit. They're trying perhaps a different approach, but they are starting to get ultimates on the board. Cafe does have the info. We can both see that one coming. Cafe does have the Graviton coming on the board, but you know, when the Pharah's in the sky, how much value is it going to get?
You know, I have to kind of flip this script a little bit. Huni, we praised him so much yesterday and anytime today that he's played the Zenyatta, but he has been completely countered out when he plays the Moira. And again, the whole idea behind this pick, Gio, is the fact that you pick the Moira so you can counter the Pharah. And it's just not happening so far. The first Coalescence found absolutely nothing. The second one not there yet. The Supercharger now in play for CIS Hope. They want to put this team fight down quickly, but the Supercharger gets pushed on and immediately taken down. Bob will come through, but he puts himself in a corner. Maybe a little bit of timeout for Bob there as Young and Beautiful find the kill. Barrage rains down, but the defense magic right in its face. And now the self-destruct there as well. They're not going to find as much as they wanted, but regardless, Young and Beautiful, they will sustain. Krondop able to get his fists involved, and that should surely be Young and Beautiful pushing through this first checkpoint.
Finally able to have done it, but they did use a lot. And I mean, even these world-famous Graviton surges that we keep talking about from Cafe, like he used it on Sharik, and it still wasn't enough to bring him down because he had that Harmony Orb on him, and it's getting a little bit messy, and actually, I'm kind of impressed that CIS Hope are being able to give them such a hard time. Young and Beautiful, they got to tighten up. Come on, this is the chance. They got to take it serious.
Indeed, Krondop tried to zone everybody away at the Primal Rage, but able to get through with CIS Hope. So still in contest, just at the very last second. Needs to come down to eliminations from here on out. Chow, he's got to self-destruct. You pull the rip on it sooner rather than later. There's our answer. It comes right through the middle. Flippy, he's not quite able to sustain enough, as it will be Coffee falling to it. So now all of a sudden CIS Hope with an opportunity for a full hold on the first stage. Kenzie with a lot of damage on the back end of his Zarya gameplay. And oh my goodness, Young and Beautiful, you were so close, but it came so far. Really nicely played from Chow to throw that self-destruct right through the low ground. Overtime will surely fade off, and that's a full hold if I've ever seen one from CIS Hope. My goodness, I thought that was going to go through.
I'm genuinely really impressed. I don't know, maybe I'm a sucker for a redemption arc, but I love it when you see a team come back after halftime and really pull themselves together and kind of figure out what's going on. And I think this is kind of the thing, right? Is CIS Hope have decided they're not going to just play what they think they should play. They're going to play what they're good at. And, you know, as we say, they did actually switch onto, you know, a kind of GOATS composition at the end there. But because they've managed to get so much value out of the composition that they had before, it held Young and Beautiful back a really long time, which made their time bank so low to even get it to that first checkpoint. So now Young and Beautiful, they've got a really big kind of endeavor, a big mountain to climb, you know, to go into this next defense. And this is where it's crazy, because this is where the composition that's been working out for them, these 3-3s, these GOATS compositions, they're going really well. This is where they realize, actually, this is the only thing we've been playing. And CIS Hope are starting to kind of, you know, branch out and do different things. And oh, if they're not playing GOATS, are we still going to get the same amount of value?
This is going to be interesting, I think. You know, kind of taking your point for Young and Beautiful with that giant mountain to climb. Where do you set up defensively? So far, they're just kind of holding in these tight corridors on the left-hand side. Do you just try to hold in front of the spawn? I think that might be the best opportunity. You need a full hold, otherwise you're going to map 5, and we know how that first control went. It was a 2-1, and it was a little dire at times, and here they move right in front of the spawn. Young and Beautiful putting themselves into quite a spot. If you hold this first team fight, you've killed a lot of time. If you lose this first team fight, you're going to be looking at a very dire situation. Sherrick able to come on through with a charge while being bubbled up. That puts Young and Beautiful in complete shambles. But Kenzie, can he find the damage enough? Coffee, you know he's going to. Takes down Sherrick very quickly. Kenzie's going to try to back up. A good sustain from Young and Beautiful. Again, things are looking dire, but the support line for Young and Beautiful just too good, able to keep alive their Reinhardt.
I like that CS Hope seem to be showing some kind of, you know, holding themselves back. You know, they're not rushing into anything. They're going back into the spawn, reconvening, making sure they're ready. They don't want to actually rush this and ruin it. And that's one thing that I really respect, because that's something that they weren't doing that much earlier on in the series, like how I mentioned about Chow earlier. So yes, Young and Beautiful, they've been able to hold this so far, but CS Hope showing a little bit more self-restraint.
Earthshatter comes in. Does it find the value they need? Does not seem to, at least not as yet. Krandop has one of his own. When do you let this rip? Oh no, both Reinhardts will actually go for a little bit of a swim as he charges right into the water. So now it's up to Coffee. Again, so close to the Graviton Surge. Can he find the trigger to put everyone into a nice little bubble? He's very low on HP though. Does he have the support behind him? 50 HP, been teetering on the edge. He's not going to pull the trigger. He knows the damage isn't there. But even still, the support line wants to stick around for Young and Beautiful. It will be one more push on the Donnie. Young and Beautiful though, you got to admire it. They don't use it too much in that first hold, but even still, CIS Hope kind of did the same. A lot of tools going into this next fight.
I was gonna say the same thing actually. Like once the two main tanks went down, you saw that both teams were kind of restraining themselves and holding themselves back from using all their ultimates, because once you're missing people from the fight like that, then it isn't gonna get as much value, and especially CS Hope had the massive spawn advantage. But here comes the Graviton Surge.
And the Sound Barrier is too late from CIS Hope. They lose main. The self-destruct takes down Kenzie. The Young and Beautiful, they're going to find themselves likely a full team wipe here, as there already is Chow jumping off the map, or maybe he got pushed off the map, not 100% sure, but regardless, Young and Beautiful with a full team wipe. And again, all they had to use with the Earth Shatter. No, actually, Cappy used the Graviton Surge as well, so you take a look at it, CIS Hope with a lot more tools as far as the ultimates go, but they already used the Sound Barrier. Main is going to have a very key Transcendence.
Yeah, and that is one thing that we have seen from CS Hope, maybe not quite getting those support ultimate timings exactly right. So yes, I do want to see a good Transcendence coming out from main, but we have these really offensive ultimates as well, and we want to be watching out for Kenzie's Graviton, because that's something I've been wanting to see improve, and here we go, and it did actually manage to get people in it.
Self-destruct will take down Krondorf, and that's absolutely pivotal for CIS Hope. They've got the numbers, they've got an Earth Shatter, but it does not find anything, because I believe he got stunned out very quickly by a shield bash from the Brigida. The Young and Beautiful with an opportunity to stay in this fight, but too many eliminations are funneling through. Now the Transcendence for CIS Hope out of main. That'll keep everybody healthy enough, and it looks like it will just be potentially one more hold. A nice little bit of a delay there, actually, from Young Savage to make sure the payload didn't move for free, so they're giving him time for his team to come back off the respawn.
Yeah, it's looking like they're going to be able to come back and, as you say, contest the point one more time. But if they do lose this fight, then we are going to a 5th map. CS Hope, this is a completely clean fight. Neither team have ultimates, so it's going to be the fight for who can build them up the fastest.
Big charge with Cappy, the Graviton Surge. Can they take down Sherrick? That's the target they need, and Hooney's able to find it. Now it's all of a sudden unfixed in a bad spot. Will be pushed around. Main also drops. We're down to 30 seconds. Geo at the very last second. Young and Beautiful hold. We've got one more potential push from CIS Hope, but it's going to be in pretty dire measures.
It's going to be in dire measures, and Young and Beautiful, look at the ultimates that they do have.
No.
Now they're going to be fighting an uphill battle, and this is it for CS Hope. And we've already seen how they often kind of collapse under pressure, and we just want to believe that maybe that they can pull themselves together and bring this forward and actually bring it forward to a 5th map. They've come through this rotation. They're going to start moving forward now, wanting to touch onto that payload, but they got to face Young and Beautiful.
Krandop, you can tell he's just waiting for the opportunity to drop this hammer. He's been good so far today. Can he be good once again? Sound Barrier used. Graviton Surge for CIS Hope. The Earth Shatter, it misses from Krandop. Opportunity for CIS Hope, but Sherrick is pinned into a wall. The self-destruct comes up. Not going to find anything because main's in Transcendence, but Young and Beautiful, they're cleaning up the front line, and it looks like it's going to be a 3-1 as soon as they finish up the eliminations. They'll do so. Holy smokes, those CIS force Young and Beautiful to play a perfect game 2 maps in a row, and they essentially do it. Young and Beautiful escalating to 2-0 in the round robin. CIS Hope down to the 1-1 in the margins. That's not what you want to see. You would have loved to have had that go map 5 for the CIS Hope.
I actually, for a long time, genuinely thought it'd go to map 5, and it's because CIS Hope seemed to have turned things around, but the second they came out on this last attack, again, on a composition that just doesn't work as well for them, it just seemed to not necessarily have, you know, well, clearly not worked in their favor, you know? They lost the series, and they're going to be kicking themselves for that, especially after seeing how well they were doing on these DPS heroes earlier.
Oh, goodness, Panda, I gotta get your reaction. CIS Hope did everything they could possibly do at the beginning of these last two maps, and it just starts to crumble at the very end of it.
I can tell you, a tale old as time here in Overwatch, macro level skill will outweigh mechanical skill any day of the week. This is not a carry meta that we are in Overwatch. This is 1.32, where team synergy is much needed and map terrain needs to be played around. CIS Hope, we're not prepared to not only lose the first team fight from the over-aggressive hold. What that is initially supposed to set up for Young and Beautiful in the end is a third team